Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. Some men walk into a room and speak, others walk in and the room listens. You ever seen a man who says absolutely nothing, yet somehow everyone notices him? No flashy clothes, no loud voice, no desperate thirst for approval, just a calm, calculated presence that makes people lean in without realizing it. That's not luck, and it's definitely not social media confidence. That's Sigma energy, and it hits different. In a world addicted to noise, these men are the silence that makes people nervous. Science even backs it. Studies show that people who speak less but with purpose are perceived as more intelligent, dominant, and attractive. It's like their silence slaps harder than most people's personality. But here's where it gets crazy. Sigma males don't try to be irresistible. They just are. It's not cologne, it's not a six-pack, and it's definitely not motivational quotes on Instagram. It's an energy. An unshakable, can't be bought, doesn't need your approval kind of energy that quietly demands attention. So buckle up, because once you understand why Sigma males have the most irresistible aura, you'll either want to become one, or you'll never stop thinking about one. Number one, they operate on a frequency most people can't even detect, let alone match. They operate on a frequency most people can't even detect, let alone match. That's what makes Sigma males feel almost untouchable. It's not just that they're quiet, it's how they're quiet. Their energy doesn't scream for attention, it hums in a way that only the observant notice. You know when someone walks into a room and nothing changes, then someone else walks in and everything shifts without a word being spoken. That's the Sigma effect. It's not a performance, it's presence. And the weird part, most people can't explain why they feel drawn in, they just are. That confusion turns into obsession. The reason their frequency feels different is because it is different. While most people are tuned into society's noise, validation, trends, popularity contests, Sigma males are tuned out. They're operating from such a self-contained mindset that it unsettles people. And when someone isn't reacting to the environment like everyone else, they start controlling it without even trying. That's why people stare, pause mid-sentence, or subconsciously watch them when they're in the room. They're picking up on something rare and unspoken, and it messes with their internal radar. There's also no predictable pattern to a Sigma male's energy. One moment he's in the room, completely still, eyes scanning like he's already 10 steps ahead. The next, he's vanished. Not out of rudeness, but because he had nothing to prove by staying. That unpredictability is part of the pull. People want to figure him out, get a read, get a reaction, but there's nothing loud enough to catch. The quiet is too controlled. That low-frequency presence becomes intoxicating because it forces others to lean closer just to feel like they're part of something. It's subtle, but it hits harder than any showboating ever could. What makes it even more irresistible is that Sigma males never broadcast this frequency for approval. They don't want to be understood by everyone. They know not everyone can handle their vibe, and honestly, they prefer it that way. Their energy isn't for mass consumption, it's exclusive. And that exclusivity is what makes them unforgettable. While most people fight to be heard, Sigma males make silence feel louder than words. They don't just walk into a room, they rewrite the atmosphere without saying a single thing. Number two, they don't sell themselves, and that's exactly what makes people want to buy in. They don't sell themselves, and that's exactly what makes people want to buy in. In a world where everyone's trying so hard to be seen, posting their breakfast, flexing fake lifestyles, talking non-stop about their goals, Sigma males move differently. They don't hand out resumes in conversation. They don't drop names. They don't lead with what they do. They let silence do the work. And weirdly enough, that quiet confidence pulls more attention than all the noise combined. There's no performance, no curated identity, just a raw, unfiltered presence that makes people curious. When someone isn't selling anything, you start to wonder what they're holding. What do they know? What have they seen? That mystery pulls people in deeper than any flashy personality ever could. While everyone else is screaming, "Look at me," the Sigma is just there, calm, centered, and completely unfazed. And suddenly everyone is looking, but they can't figure out why. It's like human psychology short circuits around them. People start doing mental gymnastics trying to figure them out. Why isn't he trying to impress me? Why does he look like he doesn't need anything from anyone? That kind of energy shifts power in the room. Sigma males don't chase attention, they attract it by refusing to. And that makes people instinctively believe if he's not asking for attention, maybe he's the one actually worth paying attention to. There's also something deeply unsettling in a good way about someone who doesn't care if you notice them or not. It's rare. It feels like a challenge. That lack of neediness makes their presence feel more expensive, more premium. You don't get access to them just because you showed up. You have to earn it. And that, ironically, makes people want access even more. They've mastered the art of low-key dominance. While others campaign for approval like it's a popularity contest, Sigma males quietly steal the spotlight without saying a word. And by the time people realize they're the most interesting one in the room, they're already gone, leaving behind curiosity, admiration, and the frustrating desire to know more. Number 3, they make eye contact like they've seen your soul and are unimpressed. They make eye contact like they've seen your soul and are unimpressed. It's not rude, it's not arrogant. It's just that their stare doesn't carry the usual social fluff, no fake smile behind the eyes, no desperate need to connect, just raw, surgical observation, like they're scanning your entire being in one glance and quietly deciding if you're worth their energy. That kind of eye contact doesn't flatter, it strips you down, and somehow that's what makes it so addicting. Most people use eye contact to connect, impress, or make others feel seen. Sigma males, they use it to read, and not the surface stuff. They're not interested in how expensive your shoes are or how well you talk. Their eyes dig deeper and you feel it. They lock in with a look that doesn't waver or perform. There's no fake curiosity, no emotional decoration, just pure analysis, calm, cool, almost predator-like. It's unsettling in the best way. What throws people off is how emotionally neutral it feels. That detachment sends a quiet message. You don't get special treatment here. It challenges your ego, and because so few people ever experience being looked at without judgment or admiration, it messes with their head. It makes people question how they're showing up. Did I say something dumb? Did I come off fake? What did he just pick up on that I missed? The gaze doesn't confirm or deny anything. It just lingers like a silent test. There's also a strange power in the way they never look starstruck. You could be beautiful, successful, charming, it doesn't matter. Their eyes stay steady as if they've already dealt with everything you think makes you special. That calm disinterest, that's what makes people lean in. Because when someone doesn't look impressed, your brain starts trying to impress them. It flips the power dynamic without a single word. And the best part? They don't use their stare to intimidate or control. They're not playing games, it's just who they are. Unfiltered, unimpressed, and completely in tune with human behavior. That gaze becomes unforgettable. You leave the conversation thinking about it, replaying it, trying to crack it. And just like that, they've taken up space in your mind without ever asking for it. Number 4, their energy says, I don't need you, but not in a bitter way, in a complete way. Their energy says, I don't need you, but not in a bitter, broken, or defensive way, in a complete way. It's not the coldness of someone who's been hurt too many times or the arrogance of someone who thinks they're better than you. It's the calm assurance of someone who's built such a solid inner world that they're not out here begging to be liked, understood, or saved. And that level of emotional self-sufficiency, it hits different. Because we live in a society where most people are silently starving for attention, constantly performing for scraps of approval. So when someone shows up who genuinely doesn't need the outside world to feel whole, it throws everything off balance. They're not trying to isolate themselves or rebel against social norms. They're just comfortable in their own skin. They've figured out how to be at peace without external noise, without applause, without anyone having to get them. That creates a sense of mystery that doesn't scream for attention, it pulls it. It's not flashy, it's not loud, it's primal. You start wondering what makes them so full, so calm, so detached in a way that feels magnetic instead of cold. That vibe doesn't push people away. It quietly dares them to come closer, knowing not everyone can handle the silence that surrounds someone that complete. It's also slightly intimidating because you know you can't manipulate them with the usual tactics. Compliments don't sway them. Guilt doesn't move them. Social pressure bounces right off. You could ghost them or try to play games and they wouldn't chase. You'd just feel the weight of their absence because they weren't trying to keep you in the first place. And that kind of energy rewires how people act around them. It makes you want to be chosen, not because they said they needed you, but because you know they don't. And if they still choose to keep you around, that means something. There's no desperation in their interactions, no fear of being alone. That inner completeness makes them immune to drama, immune to flattery, immune to the emotional chaos that drives most people's decisions. And ironically, that's what makes others crave them even more. You don't want to complete them, you want to join them. Because standing next to someone who needs nothing from you feels like the safest, realest connection you could ever have. Number 5. They blur the line between approachable and untouchable. They blur the line between approachable and untouchable, and that's exactly what makes people obsessed. You see them in a room and they're not hiding in a corner or putting up walls. But somehow they still feel like they're on a whole different level. Not because they're trying to be better than everyone else, but because they radiate this quiet independence that makes it hard to tell whether you should walk up and start a conversation or just watch from across the room and wonder what their deal is. That push-pull energy, that's what keeps people hooked. They're not socially awkward or standoffish. They can hold eye contact, give a sharp response, even crack a dry joke that catches you off guard. But just when you think you're getting close, there's this subtle shift, a pause, a glance, a silence that reminds you you still don't know them. And it hits you. You're not in their world, you've just been allowed to observe it for a moment. That kind of emotional ambiguity doesn't repel people, it pulls them in. Because in a time where most people either overshare or completely shut down, Sigma males live right in the middle, accessible enough to intrigue you but private enough to stay mysterious. That tension creates a high-stakes atmosphere. You feel like if you make the wrong move, they'll disappear back into their own space. And they will. But if you manage to earn their attention, it feels like winning something most people never get close to. That sense of rarity makes even the simplest interaction feel valuable. You're not just talking to someone, you're being given access to a mind that doesn't open up easily, and you know it. And because they don't try to create this effect, it's even more intense. It's natural. They're not playing hard to get, they are hard to get without even realizing it. That authentic unpredictability keeps people in a loop, trying to figure out what they're thinking, how they feel, and whether they'll ever fully let anyone in. That emotional cliffhanger becomes addictive. You don't know whether to stay curious, make a move, or just admire them from a distance. And either way they win, because they never asked for the attention. They just became the center of it without lifting a finger. Number 6, they don't advertise confidence, they embody consequence. They don't advertise confidence, they embody consequence. There's a massive difference, and people feel it the second a Sigma male walks in. Confidence these days is often loud, rehearsed, Instagram ready. It's flexing for likes, overselling your life, speaking louder than necessary just to sound important. But a Sigma male doesn't need to convince you he's confident. He doesn't need to posture, brag, or dominate the room. What he brings isn't confidence, it's weight. It's the presence of someone who's done the work, been through fire, come out sharpened, and doesn't need your validation to prove it. His energy says, I've built myself quietly and now I move with impact. And that impact isn't flashy, it's felt. It's in the way he listens more than he speaks, in how he chooses his words carefully, and how he stays calm when others get rattled. There's a serious, no-nonsense vibe to him, but it's never aggressive, it's just grounded. And that groundedness makes people instinctively watch their behavior around him, not because he demands it, but because his presence commands it. He doesn't puff his chest or walk like he owns the place. He walks like someone who could destroy or rebuild it, but doesn't need to do either. That kind of self-control, that's power. It's the opposite of performative confidence, which always needs an audience. Sigma males don't need anyone watching. They're not playing to the crowd. They're playing by their own rules. And if someone happens to witness it, cool. If not, they're still moving the same. The most magnetic part, he doesn't feel the urge to show off what he knows, what he's achieved, or how capable he is. He could be the most dangerous or the most brilliant person in the room, and you'd never know unless he decides you're worth showing. That choice is everything. Knowing he could offer something rare, valuable, maybe even life-changing, but only if he wants to. That makes him irresistible. Because he's not trying to prove he has worth, he knows it, and you can feel it. Confidence can be faked, but consequence, that's earned. And that's what Sigma males carry, quietly in every step. Number 7, they're not mysterious on purpose, they're just allergic to oversharing. They're not mysterious on purpose. They're just allergic to oversharing. The world's turned into one big confessional booth where everyone's spilling their guts online, telling strangers things their own families don't even know. People confuse vulnerability with validation seeking now. And Sigma males don't play that game. They're not sitting on secrets trying to look deep or unreadable. It's just that they genuinely don't think everyone deserves a front row seat to their mind, their past, or their inner world. And that refusal to put it all out there creates a mystery that's real, not manufactured. They're not being private to be trendy or cool. They're being private because it's who they are. They don't see the value in narrating their every thought. If something's meaningful, they'll share it, but only if they feel you've earned it. And in a society addicted to instant access and emotional exhibitionism, that selective silence feels rare, even sacred. When you meet someone who doesn't feel the need to explain themselves, it messes with your head. It makes you lean in. You start wanting access, not because they asked for attention, but because they didn't. And that's the real pull. The unlocked version of a Sigma male feels like something you have to earn, not just stumble into. They might talk, they might laugh, they might even open up a little. But you'll quickly realize there are levels to them, and most people only ever see the surface. That depth, kept hidden, protected, almost sacred, is what makes people obsess. Not in a creepy way, but in a how do I get past the velvet rope of this guy's mind kind of way. They're allergic to small talk, allergic to performative vulnerability, allergic to the pressure of always being seen. They're not trying to be the man of mystery, they just are, because their authenticity doesn't require external validation. And when someone doesn't overshare, your curiosity fills the gaps. Your mind starts creating a story, trying to connect the dots, trying to figure out what they're not saying. That's how the mystery builds, not through effort, but through absence. And that's exactly why people don't just want to know them, they want to unlock them. Number 8, they're the glitch in the matrix that makes people question the simulation. They're the glitch in the matrix that makes people question the simulation. While most people are on autopilot, copying trends, recycling opinions, and blending into whatever social script is being run, Sigma males move completely different. They're not trying to disrupt the system. They just don't register it. They operate outside of the algorithm. And because they don't follow the usual patterns, their presence hits like a system error, something your brain wasn't prepared for, that unexpected behavior. That's what makes people stop, stare, and wonder. In a world full of predictable responses and cookie-cutter personalities, encountering someone who doesn't play the game short-circuits the usual flow. People are used to being mirrored. They're used to being agreed with, flattered, or at least engaged in a way that makes sense. But Sigma males don't mirror, they observe, they question, they respond with brutal honesty, unsettling silence, or an angle you didn't even see coming. And that disruption makes people suddenly aware of the script they didn't even know they were reading from. It's not just how they talk, it's how they carry themselves. They don't fidget with their phones in awkward moments. They don't laugh at things they don't find funny. They don't throw out compliments just to soften the air. That kind of behavior breaks expectations. You start noticing how much everyone else is performing when this one guy refuses to do it. He becomes the mirror that reflects just how manufactured everything else feels. And the irony? He's not trying to stand out. He's not trying to be edgy or different. He just is. That's the real glitch. Most people who go against the grain still secretly want validation for it. A Sigma male couldn't care less. He's not in your simulation. He's just walking through it like a tourist who doesn't plan on staying long. That untouchable quality makes people curious. They want to know why he's different, how he became like that, and what else he sees that they don't. And before they know it, they're hooked, not because he asked for attention, but because the moment he entered the room, the matrix flickered, and they felt it. Number 9, they don't flatter people, they dismantle illusions. They don't flatter people, they dismantle illusions. Compliments don't roll off their tongue just to fill silence or grease egos. Sigma males aren't in the business of making people feel better about their delusions. If you're fishing for validation, you'll probably leave the conversation feeling slightly called out instead. Not because they're rude, but because they refuse to play pretend. They're not wired to tell people what they want to hear. They'll say what they actually see. And in a world drowning in sugar-coated feedback and artificial niceties, that rawness feels like a slap. But the kind people keep coming back for. They're not trying to correct you or prove they're right. They're just allergic to fluff. If something doesn't make sense, they'll question it. If you're selling a version of yourself that feels curated or fake, they'll quietly cut through it with a single look or one brutally honest sentence. And they don't need to say much. Sometimes their silence alone speaks volumes. It's the energy of someone who sees through the layers and doesn't feel the need to play along. That alone draws in people who are secretly tired of being flattered, coddled, or treated like fragile glass. What makes it magnetic is that Sigma males don't do this to dominate or humiliate. They do it to keep things real. They value truth over comfort, clarity over charm, and if that means calling out inconsistencies, challenging your narrative, or simply not feeding your self-deception, they'll do it without blinking. That kind of mental discipline. It terrifies some and fascinates others, but either way it commands attention. And here's the twist. This rawness doesn't repel the right people, it attracts them. People who are starving for honesty, people who want to be seen without filters, people who are sick of conversations that feel like rehearsed performances. They gravitate towards Sigma males like they've finally found someone real in a sea of avatars. Because when you've been surrounded by people trying to impress you, meeting someone who has zero interest in impressing anyone is like waking up from a dream. It's jarring, it's refreshing, and it's addictive. Number 10, they look comfortable in discomfort, and that's unnerving in the best way. They look comfortable in discomfort, and that's unnerving in the best way. While most people squirm in awkward silences, fumble under pressure, or crack when things get tense, Sigma males almost relax in it. They don't flinch when the vibe gets weird. They don't rush to fill gaps with small talk. They sit in that discomfort like it's a familiar chair, and that alone messes with people. It's like their calm dares everyone else to feel their own panic more clearly. And that stillness, that unshakable presence, it makes people stop and watch. They're not trying to dominate a room, they just never let the room dominate them. Whether it's a hostile meeting, a confrontation, or pure chaos, Sigma males show up with the same energy, still, focused, grounded, no raised voices, no dramatic reactions, no performative emotions, just a steady pulse of control that says, I've been through worse, this doesn't scare me. And that level of composure, that's rare. It makes people instinctively defer to them when everything feels like it's falling apart. It's not that they're emotionless, they just own their emotions instead of letting emotions own them. They've trained themselves not to react impulsively, and that restraint looks like strength in its purest form. You can throw shade, pressure, noise, even disrespect, and they'll just look at you like you're wasting your energy. That kind of internal discipline can't be faked. It's the product of someone who's wrestled with their demons privately and now walks through the fire without getting burned. What really gets under people's skin, in the best way, is that Sigma males don't even try to appear tough. They're not putting on a mask of calm, they just are. And that authenticity, it commands silent respect. You can't manipulate them, you can't provoke them, you can't throw them off their center. That's intimidating, that's attractive, that's power. When someone doesn't crumble under pressure, they become the person everyone subconsciously wants next to them when things go sideways. And Sigma males don't even have to say a word to earn that position. They just stand still while everyone else scrambles. Number 11, they're not trying to be rare, they just don't dilute. They're not trying to be rare, they just don't dilute. In a world where people constantly tweak themselves to be more likable, more normal, more digestible, Sigma males don't play along. They don't round off their edges to fit in. They don't shrink to avoid making others uncomfortable. They show up as their full, unfiltered selves. Quiet when they want to be, intense when they need to be, and uninterested in softening just to be easier to swallow. And that unapologetic realness makes them impossible to ignore. They won't laugh at your joke just to make you feel good. They won't pretend to be impressed when they're not. And they definitely won't force charm into a space just to seem more approachable. It's not arrogance, it's principle. Diluting themselves to fit into someone else's comfort zone feels like self-betrayal to them. So they don't do it. And in a world obsessed with fitting in, that quiet refusal to conform hits like a thunderclap. People notice them not because they're loud, but because they're whole. And when someone walks into a room without adjusting themselves for approval, without switching masks depending on the crowd, it sets off alarms in people's minds. Who is he? Why doesn't he care about being liked? What does he know that I don't? That kind of presence doesn't whisper for attention. It demands it without trying. And here's the kicker. Their lack of effort makes them stand out even more. When everyone else is tweaking their personality to suit the audience, the Sigma male's stillness becomes a spotlight. People project power onto him even when he says nothing, because while others are trying to charm their way into acceptance, he's radiating the energy of someone who doesn't need to be accepted to know his value. He's not trying to be rare, he just refuses to fake it. That refusal alone makes him feel like one in a million, because real, undiluted presence is the rarest thing in the room. And number 12, they create tension without trying. They create tension without trying. They don't need to raise their voice, wear flashy clothes, or dominate a conversation. Yet when they walk into a room, something shifts. The air gets heavier, slower, like something important is about to happen, even if they don't say a word. It's not awkwardness, and it's definitely not insecurity. It's presence, a charged kind of stillness that forces people to pay attention, even if they don't understand why. This kind of tension isn't the result of effort. It's the natural byproduct of being someone who holds back instead of oversharing, who listens more than they speak, and who doesn't feel the need to make others feel comfortable just for the sake of it. While most people are out here smoothing over moments with jokes, filler talk, or exaggerated friendliness, Sigma males let things be. If a moment is silent, they leave it. If an interaction is raw, they don't sugarcoat it. That resistance to emotional hand-holding creates a kind of unease, but the magnetic kind, the kind that pulls people in. What really makes it addictive is how that tension contrasts with the world outside. Most social settings are drenched in lightness, small talk, surface-level laughs, fake enthusiasm. People are used to being overstimulated and underwhelmed. So when a Sigma male enters with his slow, self-contained energy, it disrupts that entire rhythm. It makes people start second-guessing themselves, their behavior, their words. Why do I suddenly feel self-conscious? Why am I waiting for him to speak? Why does this silence feel meaningful? That psychological pull is intense, and that's the trap. The mystery deepens every second he doesn't break the moment. And no, he's not doing it for attention. He's just existing at a frequency other people aren't tuned to. That misalignment creates a tension that feels both uncomfortable and irresistible. It's like standing near a live wire. Your instincts want to step back, but your curiosity keeps you rooted. That kind of presence is rare, and people chase it without knowing why. Because in a world full of easy energy and fake smiles, someone who can create silence that speaks louder than noise becomes impossible to forget. In the end, the Sigma male doesn't chase attention, doesn't bend to trends, and doesn't rely on anyone else's approval. His power comes from something far deeper, an unshakable sense of self, a quiet confidence, and an ability to exist without the need for constant validation. It's this rare combination of independence, emotional mastery, and unapologetic authenticity that forms the irresistible aura around him. He doesn't need to stand out, because standing firm in his own truth is enough. In a world that often feels like a cacophony of noise and shallow expectations, the Sigma male is a beacon of calm, a reminder that true power doesn't need to be announced. It's the subtle energy of someone who is completely content in their own company and doesn't need anyone else to fill their void. He doesn't live by the rules of society. He lives by his own. And in a world starved for something real, that's exactly what makes him impossible to ignore. The Sigma male doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He's already mastered the art of being himself. And that's the most magnetic thing in the room. If you enjoyed this dive into the world of Sigma males, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content that pulls back the curtain on the most intriguing personalities out there. Drop a like if you felt the energy, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or anything you'd like to see next. Your support means the world. Let's keep the conversation going.